Okay, guys, what we're looking at here is professionally colorized pictures of whenever Howard Carter had originally found Tutankhamun's tomb. There's quite a few of them. He had quite a collection. Somebody said that whenever he left, he had suitcases full of the film cartridge things for back in the day. You remember back in the day, they didn't have some little digital camera and things going on. And this was done in black and white. And what I find amazing is the focus on a lot of this. You can see the grippling of the ceiling and stuff, and well, you know, pretty good. Some places are a little too much flash back, but back then they had that flash thing and everything going on. What I find neat about this, what this is this is his coffin chest. That's the chest inside a chest inside a chest. That inside of that had the coffin that we're known inside of another one, and there he was inside of that, right? So it's that Russian doll, concept. But this is whenever they had taken the lid off of it. There was a lid on this whole thing, and you can see where they pried it off here, and it kind of ruined a little spot in a couple of places, them doing it. But hell, you got to get this off. This thing's hermetically sealed, right? But you can actually make out that inside of this first squared coffin house, there is a house with a little pointed roof. Ching, ching, goes up and down right there. I can't hit the spot with it. And it's got rafters and stuff that run through it, and on top of it was a canvas, and apparently on the inside of the canvas were stars, and all that you see right here are these gold medallions that look kind of like Gerber daisies all over it, and they're little gold medallions all on it. Now we've got a series of the paintings to see and show, but at the end I'll show you more of his exhibit and some of the things that they've shown whenever they were looking through them to put stuff on exhibit in the new museum from the old museum. And they said they, 1/4 of his stuff is all that they really had on exhibit. And so basically the public's never been able to see a lot of it, no matter what you've seen, and much less than that even whenever you go to the exhibit that rolled around through New York and the major cities and stuff like that. One thing of note, the little spots that are on here are actually like, and it looks like they got freckles, but the walls got freckles too. It's because they said that this was done so quick that in some ways that it kind of got mold started in it, and then of course it stopped because it choked out in the desert and the whole situation. But in that same fact, you always worry about the curse of the mummy and so on. And Howard Carter, of course, died later. Nothing happened whatsoever, but he cut himself shaving, and that abscessed, or got infected or whatever, and then took him out due to a fever type thing. The guy that you see here is King Tut, and he's with the two different goddesses that are with him, and these are other gods that are there. And this is Osiris, and he's the god of rebirth, painted green, and that's what this is all about, him and rebirth chamber and the dire situation. So let's go ahead and go through this a little bit, and I'll try to stop it, see what we can see at each one. Here he is supposedly digging through one of the walls in between that and another chamber. They've already put up all this bracing, and they put up a standpoint here for him to get through, and they've dug through in those points, and they're gonna get through there to see if there's anything. Once they bust through and they see wonderful things in there, then they of course continue. So here we have a lot of this stuff, and something that looks very similar to a lawn chair we would have today, all decked out and handmade though. Super made chest. Has a very Parthenon kind of shape and look to it. Different chest or drawer type things. This one has a little statue in it. It's got them all numbered. Here's that famous box that's in it up here, and we're kind of looking through the giant lion bed or Osiris bed that they have here, and he has more than one. That's one thing weird about the other part I'll show you in the video. I won't be able to show you full like I'd want to because of the flag, but that they have found that fully a quarter to a third of the stuff in his chamber is probably someone else's. And they're kind of thinking that's weird, but just to say it right now, I don't think it's that weird. Um, I think that they gave up their stuff for him, and whenever they found out the boy king had died, and they're like, we've got to fill up his thing, and he hasn't even had his full life to build up all his things, and people are like, you can have my bed here, and you stand up and go, this is my, that's your cool chair. It's no, someone will make me another one. This is his, and da da da, and things like that went on. But there's a few conspicuous artifacts with it too. We'll see what I can get to go by. Hope it doesn't flag. So let's just look through these. This is whenever he's found. Now, to explain this, he's inside of the chest inside the chest, and they've taken the chest that's inside the chest out, and this is just it. You can see the boards and everything above him and everything else, and they've got it out, and he's looking through things, and this is literally for the first time. I mean, this is him peeling back things, and later there's pictures of him looking upon it, and I don't think this is exactly in order, but funny how he's in loafers and khaki pants and just checking it out. But they're passing these things over and out, getting a lid up on this top thing. This is whenever they opened up the box in a box, and whenever you open up those doors, now you're looking at a coffin. I don't know if you can see the expression on his face, but it's extremely somber one, and he seems to be a man caught between an intelligent thought and being overwhelmed, to me. Here's just a side view of that. Where we were looking a minute ago is right up under here. But here's a lot more chests and things that go along with it, the other bed, all this extra stuff. We'll slowly go through a couple of pictures that'll kind of be around here and around there. And you'll notice that after he gets those out of the way, he starts filming more of Carter doing things, because it'll all be there, and then for perspective and the fact that he's looking through it for the first time and documenting it, like rolling back that one piece, and you can see that checkerboard of gold up in there. They said it was stars, but it looks like checkerboard pattern. Here's the solar boat. That's not no toy either. That thing's like 4 foot, and he's got these other little ones. We've really never seen that. Famous statue of Anubis, and this is how they found it. It was already pre-draped in their fabrics and stuff, and behind it is the box and a box and a box, with the lid still on the top of it, with all the arrays around them and all their ornamentation. I think this is pretty neat. Here you see the linen that was found in there, just the linen that was found in there, and them rolling it up like extra linen and stuff. And then what you see here leaned up is a Ka statue that they have, and they're supposedly rolling up these linen and using it like pillows around it, and building a box crate to take him in so they can take the thing out. And there's another one over there, so it looks just like this. It's basically an Osiris statue version of King Tut. No, he wasn't black. So just rolling up little pillows of stuff and stuffing it around him. And here he is looking at gemstones in the coffin with all the little crap and detritus that's come off of it. And there's all this bitumen tar that's around the edge and in some of the lid that was sealing it, sucked tight, hermetically sealed onto this. Now this was inside of another one that was what we were looking at before, that was the whole thing. And if you'll look, he's taken that off, and now he's in that other one that has the duck foot double thing right here. And that's even another one, he's inside of that. So it's like shell inside a shell inside a shell, and then in a cocoon. Here's something neat. You can see the ropes and things. So this is more like what Indiana Jones really looked like. Chests that we've never really seen on exhibit, probably. There was, I missed it there, there was a little board game drawn into one part of that, but more importantly, this is first looking down without any real cleaning at all. It looks like somebody brushed over here on it, and perhaps this side of his face, or he didn't get anything on it. But this is the first look upon him. And you don't see this extra dressing with it anymore, and you don't see this giant scarab anymore with it. It's the thing that's under that and all the rest of the stuff that you see nowadays. And this is gilded internally. And it has those eyes with that reddish scribble that's done in the edge. These aren't crystal blue eyes like the earliest dynasties were, but they quit doing that long ago. Lost the technique somehow. So, I mean, that's just incredible. But that's the famous one that we all know. But that's the first look upon it. Or within a little while, he set up a camera and took a shot. All these things of wheat and stuff to make food out of, and to have him all hooked up, chairs, all kinds of stuff. Here's that Ka statue. Well, that's the other one. A little bigger than life. And these effigies. This is supposedly something that little prop-ups in their little vases, and you put flowers or, you know, lotuses and stuff inside of those, so they love the smell and things that go around, and you can set them up like a little partition, like and then put little flowers all in them and stuff. It's just not going to be on exhibit. There's a picture. Lord knows what he's reading right there. Probably something totally off, like Mark Twain. This right here is the chariot, or the hub of the chariot that's up there. And they've still got, they're trying to work on it enough so they can put it in a crate and get it back to the museum without injuring it in any way. They're pretty damn careful with what they did. For their time, they did an incredible job. And it's why we have so much of this stuff today. Look at that, all the ornamentation on it. Bull effigy. The mushrooms right beside the bull. See those? Mushroom toadstools. And the amount of bows and arrows and basically just rods, sticks is amazing. It's like he had sets of golf clubs. But worse than that, he's got a whole selection of canes and this, that, and the other for him. And they said we had a club foot, and it had perhaps been injured whenever this had taken him. And people have talked about all kinds of things that he died. Look, there's an ankh right there. There's two more right there on something else. So stuff's just packed in here. This cool little, I don't know what that is, vase gourd thing looking deal. I mean, just all kinds of nice stuff. And yeah, it looks just kind of thrown in here, like if somebody threw their stuff in storage, right? But that's pretty much what it was. And they found, for here we see these Shabti dolls, and this is Tuts Treasures is what it's called, right? Tuts Treasures. And I'll be darned if all these Shabti dolls, now they all look alike, but if you get to looking at them real closely, you'll tell that this guy's flail's bigger than that one a little bit, and this guy's chin beard is rounded and that one's more squared off, or this or that. Or you'll notice that the Aureus on the chest of it here, it's darkened on the edges, but not right there. But on this one, it's even had a little scoop put up under it and a dot put on it. Or maybe you notice something like King Tuts Shabtis are blue-eyed. At least some of them are. And what they're noticing right here whenever they're going through it and talking all about it, here, let me bump back a little bit. This is a 45-minute show called Tuts Treasures. They're looking through all these pieces and they end up finding some of them have some names on them that's not King Tut. It's his sister stuff or mom's or grandma, you know, and of course their ma and grandma and everything goes. I'll show you here in a minute just to end this thing. But people that are related to them and things that are all part of theirs too. Only seems to be about a quarter of it that they can figure out so far, but there were a lot of things donated to him. He had a whole bunch of stuff, but other people, like at a funeral, and gave him extra stuff here and everything. And see if we can get some shots here of whenever they're looking around at the different stuff. Here she's talking about how there's, you know, there's some people's stuff, but people are giving different stuff for them and everything. I'm going to get flagged for 15 seconds of this crap, so what's going to happen? Let's see if I can go back to here. So here's more of those Shopty dolls. I think if I go about 6 or 8 seconds later too, they show a pan over them, and in that pan you can see some of them are blue-eyed also in little groups, but they don't really focus on them. In fact, that one that I showed was the only one that they really kind of focused on, if you will. And so that one looks twins to that other one we were looking at that was only rimmed, and that may be the one to the right, and just in this shot they ain't showing it. So I'm going to go back just a couple seconds here if I can make it do it. Let's go a little more than that. Oh no, so they're not showing it, they're focusing on it and going up his body. And here's a look at that. So they're all kind of like Ken dolls of their day, but these Ken dolls were sacred. And here's one deal looking at just one group of the Shopties. Now, these are the blue and white porcelainish Shopties on the left. Then there's ones that were gold foiled and still have the gold foil on them here. Then there's ones that are here that are alabaster and blue and of a different size and have writings on them. And some of these other ones just say simple things on them, like, you know, do for the king type expressions, whereas these ones say other little things upon them. And then there's ones here that are all alabaster and made of stone and finer, and you can tell that. But they're also picking through them now, and they're figuring out, you know, because they all know the Egyptian hieroglyphs, and they're like, well, one of these three ain't like the other ones. It says so-and-so, and things like that. And there's not too many Shopties that do that. It's really a lot of other things, but that got them to thinking, and they started going through it. And I don't know if they didn't want to put anything that was questionable, you know, that might be from somebody else up against it. But see how they have those writing on them, and real cool yellow writing. Look how precise that is and stuff. But go through looking through it and everything, and that's not Tutankhamun's thing. That's, okay, this is like Ty and his, so this is his mother and his aunt and his people like that and stuff. And what's this? Well, this is the fact that they're going to help him in the afterlife. People are misunderstanding, and for once they have a different idea of what these Shopties may or may not entail. And look how this one's real gold, and this one's this weird yellowy green, because there's a LED light kind of thing over it that's making it look a little different. Look how blue that one is. So these have been done in different effigies, but off a similar mold pretty much, right? Isn't that neat? So she's telling you how you look through them all, and they're, you know, so many of them are different in different ones, and now she's comparing them, and how one of them maybe looks more female than one male, and also they say different things and why they look like they're all grouped up. If you know what you're looking at and the things that go down here, it says a few different things. This is just one thing that they're pointing out. See if I can get on to this. King Tut, Boss Tut. Here's looking down a whole row of them. See, there was one there that had a gold cowling on and almost looked like a Ka statue, and it almost seemed like in his that they have one for the whole symbology. you know? And I don't know if there's one for each god and everything like that too, but there are boxes and boxes of these Jabtis. Boxes and boxes of these things. And they're like, check this out. It's just perfect, you know? And it's going to flag. But she's famous as an archaeologist, goes through this stuff a lot, and has escorted a lot of archaeologists doing their work and worked with them whenever they're doing their thing. Pretty neat. Nice lady. But here they are working on stuff and simplistic things and cleaning boxes up and stuff that, you know, imagine it, but these things have not been touched, but only by a handful of people since King Tut's time. And this effigy they're going to be careful not to show, for this is a lion. He's walking on Nubians. And they're going to cut them out of it there at the bottom pretty good. But here they're doing micro cleaning onto things. And now we're back at the point where they were before, looking at that. And so, yeah, coming up is that blue-eyed one. Very expressive when she talks. And here's another view around the room of some of these gold gilded chase lounges and different artifacts. Look at this girl looking through them and stuff. And this stuff, these mini little caskets are supposed to be King Tut's children that were stillborn or whatever. And there's the baby's little cowling, if I understand this correctly. There's the little baby's cowling. That goes on the body of the real mummy that I don't know where it is, but in here. And then this box fits perfectly in that box, just like Daddy. You see? And those gold pieces in the background, everything is, but it's not solid gold. It's had gold foil put all over it and everything. And some of the pieces are fairly thick, other are pretty thin. There's that blue-eyed one. Or it's another one. Looks like the same one. That's the same one. So there's all these artifacts here. Let me see if I can glitch around through and show you a few more of them. And they show how his, well, this is going to flag me for sure. But this is basically how they show where Tut's box in a box in a box worked. He was wrapped up, and he was inside another box, and inside that box, they had him inside of the crypt thing, inside of another box. And that was inside the gilded box. It was inside of another box that had the whole thing around it, that had the thing that we were talking about at first, and that ain't it. It had an arrayus around the top of it, and da-da-da. Dig that. Like, what? Imagine how they just blow somebody's mind away whenever you see this. Of course, you've never seen this before. We kind of know some of this stuff now, but these people had never seen this before. And I invite you to look it up. Look Tuts Treasures up, and it'll show up, and you can see these people and showing all their all the stuff and artifacts they're working through, and showing that they kind of thought that King Tut, you can tell the guy on the left isn't King Tut, but he looks a whole lot like King Tut. And they thought they might have used another mask or used another thing, because this mask is incredible. And whenever he died real quick and somebody had to put this stuff together, what it looked like they had done is the artisans had made a mask, or made the whole cowling without the face piece on it, and all they had to do was make a face piece. And a lot of people saying they took this somebody who was actually one of his relatives from before that he supposedly looked like, and they did that, or at least there's their idea. And that what they would have done was just make a mold off that and do it. Or some people think they even cut the dude's face off and they stuck it in King Tut's mask. Not wild? But because how would they do it so quick? And let's see if I can get that one picture right there. Boom. Well, we'll have to watch it roll up, but that's okay. And there's little pieces of parchment and stuff. That's the original picture. And this right here is like little pieces of buckles and stuff like that they found, right? And they look through it real closely, and it's all finely put together like this. and they look at it and they go, well, this isn't probably King Tut stuff either, but it's with him. And because we don't have any examples of it in the past where modern day looters through old time looters have gotten through the whole thing, they have no clue as to whether or not that's the way that it was formally done, even from pre-dynastic times. It's not something that's written down, people. Like, we don't just say what we do when we cry at a funeral and stuff like that. It's just not written down. And so, kind of strange. Nothing strange here, although this is just a likeness and not the original, because they've got it spinning around, and I doubt they'll let them take it out and spin it around. It's Queen Nefertiti, and she's missing her left eye. What we see is the right, but the right's still there. It's one of the weird oddities too. It's a blue eye. It's a crystal blue eye, and I'll show you that in a second. But people think that they may have taken that from one of these early first dynasty, old dynasty statues, and actually put that onto her and stuff. Let's see if I show you that real quick here before we go. And there's more stuff that they show in that, but I just know I'm going to get flagged. I've had so many videos where I made one that was much longer than this, and they just flagged it. Just, you know, and sometimes I'll have 10 seconds, like whenever I had that one lady talking, and I was like, let's see. This is King Tut's grandmother, right here. Tutankhamun's great-grandmother. She's found to have blonde hair. And people said, oh, with a natron or whatever, and stuff. Listen, the reason she's real dark is because whenever you take pink meat and you dehydrate it up and turn it to beef jerky, it gets dark, and then they shellac them. But that's golden hair, and then they've proven now that natron doesn't do anything to it. But regardless of hair coloration, that's Caucasian hair. But no, they've tried to find out if it does anything, and natron doesn't do anything. Now that's the grandmother of King Tut, and here we can look at another picture of her husband, the grandfather. So this is what led to it. Well, first of all, let's look at those crystal blue eyes I was talking about. I know people that have seen a lot of my videos are probably tired of looking at ones like this, because they've seen it 3 or 4 times at least. But here's that crystal blue eyes, and they're in a bunch of different statues. Pow! Even in a couple of cat statues, they probably shouldn't have wasted them on, but those are green in the cat statue. These are all blue in these. And they kind of change color and get more blue. If you look at them head on, here, look at this, it's kind of gray. And if you get right head on, it's a little more blue. Down here at the bottom, if you look at it, this one looks kind of blue, but this one's kind of gray. But if you get head on, and you'll see a picture in a second, he's quite blue. And it's neat they're making these crystal lenses that make it look exactly like real eyes from way back in when. So here's another picture of the lady with the blonde hair looking down on her. Here's another depiction of her back in a black and white photo from like time we were looking at. And here's a more Egyptian looking depiction of her daughter, which is Queen Tai. But if that's her daughter, then that's not a black person like people are always try to say, especially black people. In fact, they say that's a afro. It's really a doily. And this is made out of yew wood. Yew wood's lighter than pine originally. Here's a look at her, and a one of King Tut. But there's King Tut we were just looking at, and there's his cranial form, and it's showing cranial forms and prognostic jaws and people that aren't, and it's in the aren't. God knows why they picked her, and that ain't her skull. But this is grandfather of King Tut right here, Yuya, the great grandfather of King Tut. Now if you look up Yuya and Thuya basically are their names, and you can see that golden hair. It almost looks like Greg Norman the golfer here. But why is he so dark? Well, that's turned to beef jerky. These people have basically been turned to beef jerky. Here's a CAT scan of his wife. You can see her long hair. Another depiction of it. And then, you know, they all have that overbite through there. But this is 18th dynasty. So, way after that. But let's look at something a little earlier than that, maybe. and to prove that that wasn't, 'cause that's after the Hyksos, but they were already kicked out. If we looked up blue-eyed Egyptians, just look up blue-eyed Egyptian or blue-eyed Egyptian scribes, you'll see these pictures here of some of these people, like the one that we saw here. But here's another one named Mitri, that peekaboo. Here's another one of copper. These ancient wooden statues that they had, but they had these eyes in them. Oh, and here's a Horaha, supposed to be the second pharaoh ever. Look up the pharaohs list. Horaha. Of course, they'll say that they found that in the 12th dynasty. So they say these crystal eyes are used all the way through the 12th dynasty, and then they quit. But then there's the one of Nefertiti, and she's after that. So they took someone else's statue or did something else with it. And there's a whole bunch of them. You can see it's done in this guy here, and here with Nofret and his wife. And listen, red Caucasian, or red ochre Caucasian males and pale females is an edict to keep the woman pale. She didn't have to work. Your farmers, you got all this thing hooked up now. And you can see this in Mitanni, Minoan, Etruscan, Greek art, where they'll show the women as pale and the male has done that. And here's another good look at them, head on. These crystal blue eyes, it looks like they're just staring right at you, you know, like those paintings they talk about where he follows you around the room. Let's get one more page here. But you can go on and on. You find blondes on the walls of all these tombs and stuff like that, and stuff like, let's see. So you can make out that she's got crystal blue eyes too, right there. All those do. And it's been an ooh part. There you can see Nefertiti's blue eye. Seems a little darker than the other ones, but it's shaded over by her eyelid. Almost looks the color of her top there. But it's crystal too. Dolls, all kinds of stuff. So, pretty neat. But, yeah, I just thought I'd share that with you. King Tut's earliest pictures, and then someone has taken and redone them in colorization, so it kind of looks like what you see today. But all these people I've been showing you, and these scribes and these crystal blue eyes, are in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th dynasties in the Old Kingdom before it starts to go to crap. And it goes to crap the first time, and recently they figured out that great drought and famine was caused by apparently a volcanic eruption or something laid out this area. In fact, it affected everybody. Like you hear about the great droughts and things like that, and when they bounced back from it, they weren't using the crystal eyes. They were the same people, same blue-eyed Caucasians, but they weren't using the crystal eyes anymore, and they lost a few little steps of technology, like those cool bowls that are made out of marble and stuff. They're all carved out just perfectly. Well, that seems to have come with them with the Badarian and Nakata cultures that come from the Neptunes that now we find are hooked up with Göbekli Tepe and back to 10,000 years ago. So you look at things like this and you say this was people right around Egypt when they were building the pyramids. But strange thing there is these people are closer to our time now than they are to Göbekli Tepe. Because it goes back to like 12,000 BC. We're only looking at 3,000 at the greatest end of this, and really these guys are 2600 BC. So amazing. Like, share, and subscribe, and enjoy. We'll get on to the next one here, but I thought you'd like those, and I wish I could show more of the whole ornaments that they show of King Tut, but look it up yourself, King Tuts Treasures, and look through it, and they'll show you that, and show you those blue-eyed Shopkeys and things that never get seen. Peace.